So for this portion of the video, what we're going to show you how to do is what's known as a system check. Now that means you're coming into the greenhouse on a daily basis. This is what you'll be doing when you're trying to figure out if the plants are doing well and they're growing. So what we have to do that are a couple of different tools. We have our black book, our log book. We have our just a very simple measuring glass, and we have our two sensors and measurement pieces. So we have our pH sensor, it says pH pen, and we have our TDS sensor, TDS. TDS stands for total dissolved solids, and that will measure how much nutrients is in the water. So first what we do is we're going to open up our logbook, and you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of data in here from previous growing. And then we'll flip to the page that we're on. We'll start by basically filling out the sections of the logbook and going through them slowly. So good to start with the date, time, your name, and then we'll show you how to get started. So 11, 10:30, Ben. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go check the tank one, which is our system number 1, which is just over here. So we're over here at tank 1, and we have our little beaker measuring glass. All we're doing is we're coming in, and we're going to be taking some of the water from the sump pump, basically, just because it's closer, and filling it up to about 60 milliliters, 70 milliliters or so. That's not overly important, but you'll want about that much water to get a good reading. Back over at our information table here, what we did when we opened up the lid, we looked in and we noticed that the water was a little bit low in that section. So what we're going to do is we're going to record here, and we're going to say water was low. Okay, we'll show you how to fill that up later. This is the water we took from system 1. We'll set here, and we're going to be measuring two important things: the pH of tank 1 and the TDS of tank 1. Okay, so what we do is we take the bottom of the blue pen off like this, turn it on, and we rest it in the water. Okay, so we leave it in the water for anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds to get a reading on the screen here. So you'll notice that the screen reading says 6.6 right now. We'll give it a couple more seconds, but that's where you'll see the reading. And the idea is that we'll take this number here, and we're going to write it down onto the page here. So we have 6.6, okay? The idea, and then once that's done, you basically take it out of the water, give it a little shake off, put the cap back on, and press and hold the power button until it turns off. With that recorded, we'll come in and we'll do our total dissolved solids. It's very simple. You press the on button here. It should register 0000. Place it into the tank of water. And again, give it just a few seconds to get its reading. For example, here we have 709 ppm. ppm stands for parts per million. So we have 733 parts per million of essentially nutrients in the water. So we'll come over here and we'll record that down. So we have 733 was our reading. And we'll take that out. That's good for us to know. And last but not least, the temperature of tank 1. Right now we don't have our thermometer set up, so as long as it's not frozen, it's good. We take the last bit of the water that we've used, and we basically just return it to the system. Now the water can go anywhere back into a trough, back into the tank itself, because it's a circle, remember? So we'll collect it all. So what we'll notice is that our pH of tank 1 was 6.6, and our TDS of tank 1 was 733. Now this is where the Arctic farmer needs to know what is growing in their system. So in our system over here, we have kale and lettuce growing. So then what we'll do is we'll refer to our red book into the table, and we will look for the plants lettuce and kale, and we'll make sure that our pH, so the pH for lettuce is between 6.2 and 6.8, and for kale it's 6.0 and 7.5. So we'll go back to our table, and we have 6.6 today, so that's great. We don't need to do anything, but we'll show you what you would have had to do if it's different. And again, we'll come over here and we'll read that our parts per million need to be between 560 and 840 for both kale and lettuce. And we'll come back over to here, and we'll notice that our TDS, or ppm, the same basic premise, is at 733, so we're in a decent growing range, and that we don't need to add any nutrients today. But we'll show you what you'd have to do if that was the case. So what we've done today is essentially showed you how to do a system check on one tank. Now within the greenhouse itself, there could be up to 3 tanks running at the same time, growing in 3 separate systems. So what you'll notice on this piece of paper is we have that the systems broke out into different ways. Come on over. We have the systems broke out into the different tanks. So all you would need to do is repeat the same practice we did for this one, 6.6, 7.3, water levels were low and the temperature was good. All you would need to do is repeat that in the same row for the other tanks. The last step would then be to record the temperature of the greenhouse data. So we have the temperature of the greenhouse, we have the high, low, and humidity. We have a thermometer which showcases all of these for us today. So we have our temperature in degrees Celsius is 15 degrees, so we'll record that data. Our high has been 11, so this is in the past 24 hours. And our low has been 4. And then we'll record the humidity, which is 72%. 73 now. 73%. And that's pretty much it for the numbers of a greenhouse check. Next, we'll show you how to add pH balance, how to add nutrients balance into the tanks themselves. So the last part of your system check on a daily basis is after you do all your measuring and all of your metric tracking, you're going to come and visibly inspect the plants to make sure that everything is growing well and there's no issues. So what that consists of is you'll come through and you'll look down each and every row, all the way down the rows, and you'll be looking at the very top to ensure that there's water dripping out of each and every single one of these drippers. So all the way down the row, we'll have water dripping all the way out. It's very important that you make sure that water is dripping out of all of the drippers to ensure that the plants are growing. Here's an example of a plant where the dripper wasn't working, and you'll notice that the leaves themselves are kind of wilted over. And all that only happened because the dripper itself stopped working. So we've since fixed that dripper, and the plant bounces right back to life and isn't looking wilted, isn't looking down. And it's important to catch those quick, because if you don't catch them, you will actually lose the plant and it will die because it didn't get enough water. So it's really important to go through and look at every single plant in all of the rows and make sure that they are actually doing well, so they can go and get quite big and ready for harvest. If you have any issues with any of your measurements, any of your dosing, any of your system challenges, always feel free to reach out to your Growing North or Green Igloo project rep. They know how to help and they know how to solve all of the problems that you'll be facing. So don't ever be shy to reach out and let us help you grow within your Green Igloo.